Estamos con Bryan Che, director general de la estrategia de productos cloud de Red Hat, para conversar sobre el día de hoy. Hola Bryan, how are you?
Good, how are you? Thank you.
I would like to speak about why the future of cloud is open.
So if you look at all the innovations that are happening around cloud computing, think about OpenStack, think about container technology, think about all the management technologies that people are using. It's all being driven first by open source technologies. And the reason for that is that open source as both a technology as well as a development model is the best at how do we start to create these different kinds of systems at scale and put them into production in a way that has immediate value. And so the future of cloud is open because first off, users of the cloud are looking for innovations and features that are only possible by the open source innovation model. Secondly, they're interested in open because as you take a look at the value in terms of what cloud is supposed to bring, it's supposed to be much more efficient, much more cost effective, much more agile. All of that comes straight out of open source economics. And finally, as you take a look at what customers are looking for from a cloud perspective, there's never going to be just one cloud. There's going to be what they run in their own data center. There's going to be a wide variety of different public cloud services that they consume, and they all need to work together from an IT perspective. And the only way that's going to be possible is if you have an open architecture and open source technologies to bring everything together.
What is the product portfolio of Red Hat for open hybrid cloud?
So first off, we provide everything that you need to be able to build out your next generation cloud platform. So everything from the operating system through OpenStack for infrastructure as a service, through our container platforms like Atomic, through our storage technologies, all the way up into our container application platforms such as OpenShift, even into management technologies with technologies such as Ansible and CloudForms and Satellite. So everything for your next generation platform. But we also provide a set of capabilities to modernize your existing IT environments because people can't move all the way to cloud instantaneously. And so everything from our traditional Red Hat Enterprise Linux to our JBoss middleware, all the way up to virtualization technologies and so on, we provide a very comprehensive set of open source technologies to modernize your existing environments. And then finally, we provide the ability to take all these open source technologies, whether for your next generation workloads or for your existing platforms, and to bridge them together across the infrastructure of your choice, whether on physical platforms, whether on virtualized platforms, whether on private clouds or on public clouds, and in heterogeneous environments, whether with Red Hat or with Microsoft or with Amazon or with Google and so on.
And what is the advantage to use open source with DevOps?
So if you take a look at open source and DevOps, DevOps comes right out of open source. I don't think you can do DevOps without using open source today. So take a look at open source technologies and what is happening with DevOps, whether it's with automation technologies like Ansible or with Chef-It or with Chef or with Puppet, or if you look at Git, or if you look at the platforms as a service like OpenShift, all the technologies people are using around DevOps are coming out of open source. If you think about all the DevOps practices, such as let's collaborate, let's experiment, let's fail fast, let's be agile, these are all coming straight out of open source. And if you take a look at the platforms and the capabilities where people are practicing DevOps, it's all going across open source technologies and platforms. Even the leaders of DevOps, they're all open sourcing and sharing their best practices and tools and technologies. So open source and DevOps go intrinsically hand in hand.
And finally, what can you tell me about the security in open source?
So open source is the best way to take a look at how do you deliver secure technologies and platforms. This is both from a technology perspective. You want to be able to start with how do I understand that my code is secure, and how do I consume that in an enterprise fashion that I can deliver. And so this is where vendors like Red Hat, because of the fact that we have a security model that hardens and that traces where the code comes from and delivers it in a way that customers can consume, becomes so important. If you take a look at Linux, for example, Linux runs 1/3 of all the servers in most enterprises today. And so if you don't have that security at the core of what you're doing, it becomes very difficult to have a secure platform. From that foundation, we focus on how do we deliver open source in a secure manner, from everything from how do we deal with your operations. And so products like CloudForms, which are in and of themselves open source, or products like Satellite, which are in and of themselves open source, but now start to deliver operational capabilities to ensure security policies. All the way to our delivery models. How do we make sure that when you get a patch to a certain capability, we deliver that in a secure way and we understand what's running across your environment so that we can take that open source code, but now secure it and deliver it in a way that makes sure your enterprise architecture is secure. It becomes very, very important to be able to have security best practices and a secure foundation, and only open source can enable all that end to end.
Okay, thank you, Bryan, for your attention, and congratulations for your keynote.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.